Alberto took one look at his new neighbors and knew that his life was going to get more difficult. He watched them arrive in their big, noisy car and watched them get out. There they were, two of them, as big and as noisy as their car, and smelly and stupid as well. Terrible. He thought. How am I going to put up with them? He went to tell Mimi. Mimi was the friend he lived with. Have you seen the new neighbors? He asked her. No, she said. Who are they? Two of them. The ones we don't like. Big and noisy and stupid and smelly. Just like they always are. Oh no, said Mimi. How awful. Still, I suppose we can just ignore them. I suppose you're right, agreed Alberto. We'll just have to ignore them. For a few days, then, Alberto and Mimi tried to ignore their new neighbors. When the neighbors went out for a walk, Alberto and Mimi didn't say hello to them. When the neighbors were in their garden, Alberto and Mimi went inside. This was okay for a few days, but, perhaps inevitably, things didn't stay this way. One day, Alberto woke up from his sleep to find one of the neighbors in his garden. Mimi. He shouted. Have you seen this? He's in our garden. Look. How terrible, said Mimi. Let's call our staff and make sure they get rid of him immediately. Mimi went off to call their staff. 2 minutes later, Alberto and Mimi's head of staff was out in the garden trying to get rid of the unwelcome neighbor. Go on. He shouted. Get out of here. Go home. The neighbor didn't say anything but gave Alberto and Mimi's head of staff a dirty look, then he went back into his garden. Alberto and Mimi felt better and then asked their head of staff to prepare their lunch for them. However, it wasn't enough. Over the next few days, Alberto and Mimi often found one or other or both of their new neighbors walking around their own garden. It was terrible. To show how they felt, Alberto and Mimi went into their neighbor's garden at night, when the neighbors were inside, and broke all the flowers. The next morning one of the neighbors came to talk to Alberto. Hey. He said. Hey, you. Alberto ignored him, but he continued talking. You came into our garden last night and broke all the flowers. Alberto didn't say anything but gave his neighbor a dirty look. Now I'm in trouble. Continued his neighbor. They think I did it. Who are they? Asked Alberto. My owners, of course, replied the neighbor. Owners? Said Alberto. You have owners? Course we do, said his neighbor. Don't you? Oh, no, replied Alberto. We have staff. Alberto went to tell Mimi that the neighbors didn't have staff but owners. That's not a surprise, said Mimi. That explains everything. That's why they're so noisy and smelly and stupid. We need to make their owners become staff. The next day, Alberto and Mimi were actually very friendly with their new neighbors. They tried to explain how to make their owners become staff. Listen, said Alberto to them. It's very easy. First, understand that the house is your house, not theirs. And second, said Mimi, make sure that you are always clean. Make sure they give you food whenever you want. Sit on the newspaper while they are reading it. Sleep as much as possible, on their beds. And finally, try not to bark but to meow instead. But it was no good. The neighbors just didn't understand. After a week, they gave up. It's no good, said Mimi. They'll never understand. Dogs have owners, cats have staff. Chris rose. So we're driving along a road in the middle of nowhere, a few trees now and then on each side of the road, mountains in the distance. There hasn't been a town for ages, and then you see this sign, not really a proper sign at all, just a piece of card with some words scribbled on it, bungee jumping, 5 kilometers, and an arrow pointing to the left. I can't even see a road going left, and there's certainly no sign of any bungee jumping, but you insist. The idea has taken you, you're crazy about it, you've always wanted to do bungee jumping. I know, you think I'm boring because I don't want to go. Go on. You insist. We don't even have to do the bungee jumping, we can just go there and see what's happening. It'll be interesting. As usual, you get your way. I give in and off we go along this dirt road, for what seems much more than 5 kilometers to me. But then, after driving for ages, suddenly, out of nowhere, some trees appear, like a small wood. This must be the place, you say. The road narrows into just a path, so we pull over to the side of the road. I couldn't drive down there if I wanted to. As soon as we're out of the car we can hear voices, people shouting and laughing. They sound like young people, they sound like they're having a good time. We slowly walk to where the noise and people are. In the middle of the wood there's a group of about 20 people. The youngest are about 15 or 16, while some of them are perhaps in their late 20s. They look up and see us, then say hello to us. They're polite, friendly even, but I feel like we're interrupting a private party, gate-crashing something they're doing. Once there had been a river running through the middle of the forest, but now there was just a dry ditch. It doesn't matter, nobody is interested in swimming. A metal bridge crosses the ditch. The bridge doesn't look too stable. I think the kids had built it themselves. There's a big group of the kids in the middle of the bridge. They're all leaning over and looking down into the ditch. They're all shouting and laughing. Another person is hanging from a long piece of elastic rope in the middle of the ditch. He is laughing like he is mad. The other people slowly pull him up to the bridge. As the guy comes to the top he looks exhilarated and shocked, but also very, very happy. I look at you and can see what you're thinking. I want to do that. You say. I knew it. And you know what I want to say, danger. Damage to internal organs. Safety procedures. Damage to your eyes. The rope can burn you. You can get tangled up in the rope. You can dislocate your arm or your leg. It's certain that you will get bruises on your arms. What happens if the rope breaks? Who knows who these people are? Have you any idea how far away from a hospital we are? I don't say it, but, yes, you're right, I am thinking it. I don't say anything, because I know that you won't have answers for any of my questions. You know that I'm right, really. You've always been a lot more adventurous than me. I know you think I'm boring and safe and always worried about danger and risk. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps I am too boring. I don't know why people do it. I really don't know. I remember when I was a kid, my friend had a bicycle that had no brakes. We used to take his bike without brakes and go down a big hill on it. I think about that old bike so many years ago, and I remember how I felt then. I breathe in, close my eyes, don't think about anything. I jump. I think I'm going forever and wonder when I'll stop. But it feels great. I feel scared and thrilled and alive. Then there's a pull and I'm going back up again, and, yes, it is dangerous, but, yes, it is thrilling. But the most exciting, thrilling, wonderful thing of all is seeing your face as I come back up to the bridge. Chris Rose.
The Wolf and the Fox. Once, there were a wolf and a fox. The fox worked for the wolf, and he hated him. The wolf was very bad, and made the fox do everything for him. The wolf was ugly and greedy, but he was stronger than the fox, so the fox had to do what he said. One day, they were walking through the forest and the wolf said, "Oh, fox! I am so hungry. If I do not have something to eat, I will have to eat you." "Then I will go and get you something to eat," said the fox. "There is a farm near here, and there are 2 sheep there." The fox went and took one of the sheep, and the wolf ate it very quickly. "Ah, lovely," he said. "But I am still hungry. I want the second sheep." "Then go and get it yourself," said the fox. So the wolf went into the farm to take the second sheep. But he was not fast and clever like the fox, and the sheep cried out loudly. The farmer heard the sheep, saw the wolf, and came and beat him in the face. The wolf was very angry when he came back. The farmer had beat his face very hard, and now he was uglier than before. "I don't believe it," said the wolf. "The farmer saw me and beat me in the face." The fox smiled. "How strange. He did not see me and beat me in the face. Maybe you are too greedy." The next day, they were walking through a city and the wolf said, "Oh, fox! I am so hungry. If I do not have something to eat, I will have to eat you. Then I will go and get you something to eat, said the fox. He sniffed. A woman is making pancakes in that house there. I will go and take some pancakes. So the fox went and took 6 pancakes and brought them to the wolf. The wolf ate the pancakes very quickly and said, Yum. But I am still hungry. I want 12 more pancakes. Then go and get them yourself, said the fox. So the wolf went to take more pancakes, but he was not fast and clever like the fox. He broke the plate on the floor, and the woman came and saw him. She beat his legs for a long time, and the wolf came back very slowly. I don't believe it, said the wolf. The woman saw me and beat me in the legs. Now I can walk well. The fox smiled. How strange. She did not see me and beat me in the legs. Maybe you are too greedy. The day after that, they were walking next to a castle. The wolf could only walk very slowly, so they went slowly. Oh, fox, said the wolf. I am so hungry. If I do not have something to eat, I will have to eat you. Then let us go and get you something to eat, said the fox. In the cellar of the castle, there are many boxes of salted meat. I cannot carry them to you because they are heavy. So we will go there together. All right, said the wolf, but I can only walk slowly. So if the king comes, you must help me escape. Of course, said the fox. They went through a tunnel to get into the cellar. The tunnel was not very wide. Inside the cellar, there were many boxes of salted meat. The wolf was very happy, and ate and ate and ate. But the fox ate, then looked through the tunnel, then ate, then looked through the tunnel. Finally, the wolf said, Fox, what are you doing? I want to enjoy my food, but you are running here and there. Why are you looking through the tunnel so much? I want to see if anyone is coming. Don't eat too much. But when the fox said to do something, the wolf never did it. So he ate a whole box of salted meat. The king heard strange noises in the cellar, so he came to look at it. The fox heard him, and ran through the tunnel, escaping easily. But the wolf was very slow, and when he came to the tunnel, he could not get through. He was too fat from the meat, and he could not escape. Fox! Fox! Shouted the wolf. But the fox had escaped, and he didn't go back for the wolf. Well, said the king. There is an ugly wolf in the castle, and he has eaten my meat. That cannot be. And the king beat the wolf for a very long time, and finally the wolf died. The fox escaped, and he was very happy. He didn't have to do what the wolf said anymore. He smiled. Oh, wolf, he said. You were too greedy. The end.
My friend is afraid of spiders. This isn't very unusual, a lot of people are afraid of spiders. But my friend isn't just afraid of spiders, she is totally, completely and utterly terrified of them. Magazine, a serious case. Do the preparation task first. Then read the story and do the exercises. Show preparation. I have a friend who is afraid of spiders. This isn't very unusual, a lot of people are afraid of spiders. I don't really like spiders much myself. I don't mind them if I see them outside in the garden, as long as they're not too big. But if one comes in the house, especially if it's one of those really big spiders with furry legs and little red eyes, then I go yuck and I try to get rid of it. Usually I'll use a brush to get rid of the spider, but if I feel brave then I'll put a glass over the top of it, slide a piece of paper under the glass and then take it outside. This is quite normal, I think. But my friend isn't afraid of spiders in any normal way. She isn't just afraid of spiders, she is totally, completely and utterly terrified of them. When my friend sees a spider, she doesn't just go ugh, or run away or ask someone else to get rid of the horrible creepy crawly. No, she screams as loud as she possibly can. She screams so loud that her neighbors worry about her and think about calling the police. When she sees a spider, she shivers all over and sometimes she freezes completely. She can't move at all because she is so terrified. Sometimes she even faints. But my friend had a surprise for me when we met for coffee last week. Guess what? She asked me. What? I said. I've got a new pet. Great, I said. What is it? A dog? A cat? No. A budgie? No. A rabbit? No. What then? I've got a pet spider. I don't believe you. It's true. I decided that it was time I did something about my phobia, so I went to visit the doctor, a special doctor. A psychiatrist. This psychiatrist specializes in phobias, helping people who have irrational fears to get better and live normally. He told me I suffered from arachnophobia. It's an irrational fear of spiders, he said. About 1 in 50 people suffer from a severe form of arachnophobia. It's not very uncommon. Thanks, said my friend. But that doesn't help me much. There are lots of different ways we can try to cure your phobia, said the psychiatrist. First, there is traditional analysis. What does that mean? Asked my friend. This means lots of talking. We try to find out exactly why you have such a terrible fear of spiders. Perhaps it's linked to something that happened to you when you were a child. Oh dear, said my friend. That sounds quite worrying. It can take a long time, said the psychiatrist. Years, sometimes, and you can never be certain that it will be successful. Are there any other methods? Yes, some psychiatrists use hypnosis along with traditional analysis. My friend didn't like the idea of being hypnotized. I'm worried about what things will come out of my subconscious mind. She said. Are there any other methods? Well, said the psychiatrist, there is what we call the behavioral approach. What's the behavioral approach? Asked my friend. Well, said the psychiatrist, it's like this. The psychiatrist got out a small spider from his desk. It wasn't a real spider. It was made of plastic. Even though it was only a plastic spider, my friend screamed when she saw it. Don't worry, said the psychiatrist. It's not a real spider. I know, said my friend. But I'm afraid of it just the same. Said the psychiatrist. A serious case, he put the plastic spider on the desk. When my friend stopped screaming, the psychiatrist told her to touch it. When she stopped screaming again, the idea of touching the plastic spider was enough to make her scream. She touched it. At first she touched it for just 1 second. She shivered all over, but at least she managed to touch it. Okay, said the psychiatrist. That's all for today. Thanks. You can go home now. That's it? Asked my friend. Yes. That's all? Yes, for today. This is the behavioral approach. Come back tomorrow. My friend went back the next day, and this time the plastic spider was already on the doctor's desk. This time she touched it and held it for 5 minutes. Then the doctor told her to go home and come back the next day. The next day she went back and the plastic spider was on her chair. She had to move the spider so she could sit down. The next day she held the spider in her hand while she sat in her chair. The next day, the doctor gave her the plastic spider and told her to take it home with her. Where do spiders appear in your house? Asked the psychiatrist. In the bath, usually, said my friend. Put the spider in the bath, he told her. My friend was terrified of the spider in the bath, but she managed not to scream when she saw it there. It's only a plastic spider, she told herself. The next day the psychiatrist told her to put the spider in her living room. My friend put it on top of the television. At first she thought the spider was watching her and she felt afraid. Then she told herself that it was only a plastic spider. The next day the psychiatrist told her to put the spider in her bed. No way, she said. Absolutely not. Why not? Asked the psychiatrist. It's a spider, replied my friend. No, it's not, said the psychiatrist, it's a plastic spider. It's not a real one. My friend realized that her doctor was right. She put the plastic spider in her bed and she slept there all night with it in her bed. She only felt a little bit afraid. The next day, she went back to the psychiatrist. This time, she had a shock, a big shock. Sitting in the middle of the doctor's desk there was a spider. And this time it was a real spider. My friend was about to scream and run away, but she didn't. She sat on the other side of the room, as far away as possible from the spider, for about 5 minutes, then she got up and left the room. "See you tomorrow," shouted the psychiatrist to her as she left. The next day she went back, and this time the psychiatrist let the spider run around on his desk. Again, my friend stayed about 5 minutes, then left. The next day she stayed for 10 minutes, and the day after that, 15. Eventually, the psychiatrist held the spider, the real spider with long furry legs and little eyes, in his hand. He asked my friend to come and touch it. At first she refused, but the doctor insisted. Eventually she touched the spider, just for a second. The next day she touched it for a few seconds, then for a few minutes, and after that she held the spider in her own hand. Then she took the spider home and let it run around in her house. She didn't feel afraid. Well, okay, she did feel afraid, but only a tiny bit. "So now I've got a pet spider," she told me again. "Well done," I said. "There's only one problem," she said, and as she spoke I noticed that she was shivering all over. Then she screamed and climbed up on the chair. She was pointing to something on the floor. "Over there," she screamed. "Look. It's a beetle." Chris rose.